The New York Jets put out a 4-part documentary series. It's called Flight 2021. I'll be honest, the name is a bit unsatisfying. I wish it was called like The Takeoff or I don't know, Flight just for some reason didn't really move the needle for me. However, the documentary itself was very, very quality. It is worth noting, though, it is put together by the Jets PR team. So there's nothing negative. It's borderline Jets propaganda. It's really not, like, you're not going to hear any criticism of the Jets or any hard moments. It's just like a positive commercial, basically, for what the Jets are doing. But over the course of the 2-hour watch time, there is some really interesting stuff you can pick up on, some valuable information. And by the way, if you're a Jets fan, I'm not a Jets fan. I'm just looking for interesting content. But if you are a Jets fan, I would imagine that it's a really good watch. It really will prepare you for the year. It'll give you some excitement. It will teach you a lot about the team, about what's going on, who's behind the team, and who the new players are. And the series kind of covers 3 big things. Number 1 is the hiring of the new head coach, Robert Saleh. You get to know him, his philosophy, how he does stuff. And then part 2 and 3 is, number 2 is the free agency period, and number 3 is the NFL draft. So number 1, the thing that stood out most to me about Robert Saleh, and he said this multiple times. He said, I don't want group think. I don't want, he said in their coaches meetings, in their scouting meetings, he encourages discussion. He wants people to be able to challenge each other, challenge their ideas. He doesn't want people to just submit with the common, again, the word is groupthink. He wants people to have their own individual ideas and be free to express them and share, hey, I like this player, and I know you don't like him, but I like him, here's why. He wants to hear everybody's ideas and have free-flowing discussion in their meeting rooms. I think that is phenomenal. It's super important to be able to hear multiple perspectives. And this goes with anything. This is not just in the sports world, but it does include the process of scouting players, whether it be in free agency or in the draft. And that was one thing that stood out about Robert Saleh to me. I went, I really, really like that. I already had a lot of confidence in the guy going into this documentary. All it really did was confirm everything I already believed. Robert Saleh seems like a great leader. He is well-spoken. He does things the right way. I really liked him in San Francisco with the 49ers. And it does appear like, I know that the documentary, it's 2 hours, it's 4 parts, kind of trying to convince me of this, but I already felt like going in, hey, I feel good about what the Jets are doing. The documentary made me feel even more like, they really are building something. They made a lot of great moves. The reasons behind their moves became more apparent in this whole documentary series. And I walked away with a good feeling. I mean, the Jets we already knew they had a good general manager, Joe Douglas. Then they hired a good head coach, Robert Saleh. The two of them appear to work really, really well together. And then I just was like, man, I like the leadership happening right now in the Jets organization. Now, as things shifted toward free agency and the draft, what I thought was really cool is we got to see analysis from the Jets coaching staff on why they signed or why they drafted the guys they brought in. And it's cool hearing from, Mike LaFleur, the Jets offensive coordinator, hearing him explain what his new guys bring to the Jets roster, what he's excited about. I mean, if you watch this documentary for any reason, that is the thing that is most cool. You do hear analysis from time to time from the outside, and you watch ESPN, Fox, you watch my show, you're hearing an outsider's perspective on, hey, here's why I think that's a good move. But to hear from the Jets coaching staff themselves, to hear from the people who made the pick, their breakdown on why they're excited, why X player, Corey Davis is good for the Jets offense, why Zach Wilson was a good draft pick, why Elijah Vera Tucker, what he brings to the offense. I mean, I could go through a whole bunch of names. They brought in an edge rusher. I'm blanking on the name right now, but they brought him in from Cincinnati, and they're like, hey, pairing him with Quinnen Williams, he's going to make a bigger impact because we've got a good interior defensive line, and having him on the outside is going to really maximize his opportunities and raise his numbers, and people are going to get to know this guy. And if you watch this documentary for any reason, it's to hear the analysis by the Jets coaching staff and decision makers, why they made the additions that they made. So that's the coolest thing of the whole documentary. This series also did confirm my belief that the reason why the Jets decided to trade Sam Darnold rather than build around him was less about Sam Darnold and more about Zach Wilson. It wasn't because the Jets said, hey, Sam Darnold is hopeless, we just can't win with him. But the reason why they drafted Zach Wilson and traded Sam Darnold was because they fell in love with Zach Wilson. They went, yeah, this dude is, and I agree with them. They felt like Zach Wilson was an upgrade at the quarterback position. And you have a new coach, new offensive coordinator. They got their guy to build around that they felt like was better than Sam Darnold. That's how it came across. That's how I already felt going in. Again, there's a lot of confirmation bias here, I guess, if you want to be critical. But I just walked away from this documentary going, everything I already believed feels like that's what's really happening here. And I've said this before. I said it when the draft happened, but I personally believe that, and again, you can go back, go find old content I made. I truly believe that the Jets got the best quarterback in this draft class when they drafted Zach Wilson, the quarterback out of BYU. And I am really excited for his future with the New York Jets. I also got to say, Mike LaFleur, the Jets offensive coordinator, that's a future NFL head coach. As the years go on, give him a couple of years, he's going to build up the Jets, Robert Saleh and him, a tandem team, and Zach Wilson's going to do really good. And 3, 4, maybe 2 years from now, we're going to go, oh, this guy Mike LaFleur. He'll be the next string of head coaches. He'll be a guy like Eric Bieniemy, a name you hear doing interviews and going, that guy is one of the next head coaches in the NFL. And by the way, it's crazy to compare Mike LaFleur, who, by the way, is, in fact, the brother of Matt LaFleur, the Packers head coach. He worked for Kyle Shanahan. A lot of influences there. But when you hear Mike LaFleur, the Jets offensive coordinator, talk about football and break down film, and then you compare him to the Eagles head coach, Nick Sirianni, Mike LaFleur presents really, really well. And in contrast, Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni, the new guy they hired, is a train wreck. I already felt that way. I really have a bad feeling about Nick Sirianni. When you watch the Eagles PR team, when you watch Eagles content, they literally cut his sentences mid-sentence because they're clearly trying to hide stuff he's saying. It's kind of embarrassing when you watch him give an interview or give a film room session. There's this awkward cut, and you're like, oh, they just cut him off mid-sentence because he just rambles forever and ever. So Nick Sirianni is not a good speaker. The opposite is true of Mike LaFleur. Mike LaFleur is a very good presenter. He breaks down film in a very calm, comfortable manner. He's a good public speaker. And when you hear Mike LaFleur talk about anything, it becomes even more apparent, oh, this guy, the Eagles have, Nick Sirianni. It just makes him look even worse. It's really a stark contrast. I encourage you to go watch this documentary, and then go watch some of the content that the Philadelphia Eagles have put out with Nick Sirianni in it, and you'll go, oh boy, one sounds like a head coach, and one guy actually is a head coach. It's very off-putting. I also want to highlight, this is maybe the last thing I'll talk about here, but right after drafting quarterback Zach Wilson, number 2 overall, on the phone, Robert Saleh said to Zach Wilson, he says, quote, "This organization is going to lift you up, not the other way around." I love that. That's a complete 180 from the approach and what happened with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, I felt like the former Jets, was he also a number 2 overall pick? Number 2, number 3, wherever Sam Darnold was picked. Their former quarterback, a top 5 pick that they believed in and were trying to build around. I felt like it never actually happened. We talked about how you got to build around a young quarterback, but that never took place. And it was kind of sad. Like Sam Darnold really never, I felt like, got a fair shot in New York. And the Jets have made a lot of moves already to build around their new young quarterback, Zach Wilson. It really goes all the way back to 2020 when they drafted Mekhi Becton and made a couple other good moves in the 2020 NFL draft. Then it continued on this year in the 2021 NFL draft and in free agency, adding Corey Davis, adding Elijah Vera Tucker, adding, running back and receiver, just building around their young quarterback, building the offensive line. Zach Wilson has been given a lot of support. I feel pretty good about it. I look at what Zach Wilson has around him, the coaching staff, Robert Saleh, the offensive coordinator, the GM, the players around him. I go, I feel pretty good about the future there. They really are building something around their young quarterback, Zach Wilson. And also, I guess to end it here, I want to give a shout out to the editors of the documentary. I have no doubt the amount of film it took for them to run through all the Zoom meetings, there's probably hours and hours and hundreds of hours of content they had to go through and sift through to find the moments they did. It felt like they recorded every single Zoom meeting that the Jets organization ever had. And you're like, oh, it's so daunting to think about the amount of film they probably poured through to create this documentary series. It was really well done. Good storytelling, good editing. Really, my only nitpick is that I hate when you have white on white writing, or you have white writing on a really bright colored background or a white background and nothing to differentiate it from it. So like there's shots of like white writing to kind of set the scene on like a really white, barely blue sky. And you're like, I can't read that. And that's my only nitpick is I thought that the title cards could have been better, but that's like such a minute thing. And I guess I would encourage you, if you're interested, go watch the documentary. It's 2 hours. It's on YouTube. It's a 4-part series. If you're a Jets fan, I highly recommend it. I think you will really enjoy it. And those are my thoughts on the Jets documentary, Flight 2021.